Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Men of Words podcast. Today our conversation is with AFL footballer and one of our favourite sons of the West, Tom Libaratore. We actually chatted to Tom last year just after the AFL season finished and all the teams were making their way back to Melbourne. Tom joined us for a chat and we talked about his experience with injury and developing his understanding of mental health and mindfulness throughout that process.
That was probably the biggest thing for me, was consistently talking to psych every week, and then just having little stuff around that, like just to make sure I'm sort of journaling in the morning and doing a bit of writing and stuff like that. And then, occasionally just trying to get a bit of meditation as well, just to sort of check in and just sort of slow down a fair bit. Because that was something I needed to do. I just need to sort of, not think so fast all the time. I'm sure everyone understands that.
Tom delivers his thoughts in a very relaxed and low-key way, so it kind of hits you a little harder when he drops some pretty profound stuff through this whole conversation. From dad advice through to perspective and leadership, we had an absolute ball talking to Libba, and definitely stay for the tattoo stories at the end of this chat. Please enjoy our conversation with Tom Libaratore for the Men of Words podcast, where the little conversations can make the biggest differences. I'm always curious, like what the like off season sort of how that's structured, because I guess I don't really know too much about that time of it. Have you had like a bit of a stint off and now you're already back, or?
Well, they have, like, each year it's pretty similar around time off. It's like just a blanket sort of two week off rule.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever program you got going on individually, then that's when you start. That's when you start training, sort of thing. So usually 2 weeks off, and then like personally, because my knees are about the age of 80, about an 80-year-old. I just have sort of 3 or 4 weeks where you don't train at all, don't run at all, and you just like slowly get back into it, doing cross training, that kind of stuff, just to rest them up a bit.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of different, but usually just 2 weeks off and then sort of load up again until you go back to training.
Yeah, I guess that's a weird thing for us punters on the outside of it all, is like, we're like, Murph, we're getting into backyard cricket mode. That's what we're gearing up for. So like, it is, it's an interesting thing to sort of consider in that way. But I guess a lot of people probably don't consider that. You're 2 weeks off, like, like people with, I guess, regular jobs, if that's the right way to put it. And then, straight back in. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I've got to say that to my mates or my parents and stuff who get into me for having too much break and getting overpaid and underworked. So
that's all right.
Yeah, I've got to explain to them that it's all year round sort of thing. But no, it's pretty cruisy. Like, overall, really, it's pretty cruisy sort of off season.
Look, to be fair, I won't call you out on being overpaid and underworked. I'm a teacher, so I can argue a few school holidays here and there, but it's
but all right. Well, then to fill the circle, I could argue that you work your bloody ass off, Murph. So I don't think you're overpaid and underpaid and overworked.
No, I should say that teachers are definitely underpaid and overworked for sure. Hopefully, because my mum's a school teacher, so if she's watching this and she ends up watching it, then love you, mum.
Yeah.
That's it.
What a beautiful way to start.
Shout out to mum. So you're back in Melbourne, Tom?
I got back. I stayed in Perth for about 6 days after the game, and then got back in Melbourne on the Friday. So almost 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
It's certainly been interesting to come back here, but to say the least. But I don't know how you boys have done it for so long, to be honest. I was sitting there, I think it was Saturday night just gone. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. So, I don't know what, it was. Yeah.
I've had a few of those Saturdays, I'll say.
It's just like, it's bizarre. Even like just talking to mates at the time, just like, what do we do? Like, even like mates who come back from, who'll come back from Perth with me as well at a similar time, just messing each other like, this is, do you want to come around? Like, nah, curfew. Like, righto, what do we do?
Yeah, because you guys get some, from the outside looking in, it looks like you obviously have to play by the AFL rules and that during season when you're down in Melbourne anyway. But over in Perth, you guys had I know you were quarantining for 2 weeks, weren't you? And then you had a little bit of freedom after that. So it's almost dangled the carrot and then...
and then it's gone again.
It was pretty nasty. Like, the early parts of it when we were doing quarantine was that we had the first week in Tasmania where we were out in this sort of country sort of lodge. It was like an Airbnb. I mean, a bed and breakfast sort of villa.
Yeah, right.
Just something, yeah, your old auntie and uncle would go do for a weekend away or something. But we just had, it was bizarre. Like we were fenced off for a week, and then we went somewhere else for a week, and then we were allowed out eventually. But I think it was after 3 weeks because we had to restart our quarantine because we went to Brisbane for 2 nights. So, the AFL really, gave us one there. But it was pretty. Yeah, it was very nice for a few days after we finished. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What a like a weird thing it's going to be in a few years to have to like explain all this stuff, or even in like 10 or 15 years. I mean, thinking that bit about that because we feel like, I mean, fucking hopefully we're sort of getting towards the pointy end of it here in Melbourne, and it is just all this sort of stuff. Like, when have AFL clubs ever had to go through this much rigmarole to go and get a game? You know, it's just like in every walk of life, it's kind of like that. It's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, there was moments like that where we were, I think, in Brisbane, we were in our rooms and we're getting PA announcements over the top in a hotel room to tell us when to eat our food and like when to eat out, just to come out to the room, and like someone walked out of the room. I think it was, I'll blame Keithy, but he apparently he walked out of the room. Oh no, sorry. Before that, they go, righto, boys. Sorry, my dog just walked inside.
Get him in.
Yeah. Up. And then, they're like, oh, you got to make sure you don't leave your room within 30 minutes of dinner time. Otherwise, we'll push it back. Like if you don't abide by the rules, we'll push dinner back half an hour.
Yeah.
So like, all right. And then 10 minutes later, they go, sorry, one of the players left his room without a mask on. Dinner will be pushed back half an hour. And you just hear that everyone's, it's ridiculous. And then we found out it was Keithy because he was getting to just getting a bit sort of cabin feverish, so he had to do laps of the room, but he forgot to wear his mask. So there's a couple of hungry, angry boys after that.
That kind of doesn't. That feels
That's
a bit
ridiculous.
like school camp punishment of like, you know, like some of the kids not going to bed too early, and then they're getting in trouble and being made to wait 30 minutes extra for their dinner. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was the oldest bloke in the team.
Yeah.
Bloody ridiculous.
The vet.
Oh man.
Yeah, but
wow.
Stuff like that where you're like, fuck, like what? We're doing this just so we can, run around and kick a footy, but that's how much it means to people in Australia. So
absolutely, yeah. I know I can. Yeah, as a footy fan, I'm bloody thankful that all you guys put up with that rubbish, because if we didn't have footy to watch, I
would have been a long year.
I would have been doing what Keithy was doing and running around laps of the street or something. But yeah, it was wild. So I know there's a lot of people very appreciative. Sending, we're good mates with Mitchy Hannon and speaking to him a few times as well. And just, he's like, oh, it's a roller coaster. Like, we're here, we're there, we're not, it's cancelled, it's back on. We got to go, see ya. So like wild.
Yeah, it was, certainly like that. Yeah, Mitchy's an absolute legend. It's good absolute ripper. Good to get him across from Melbourne.
Absolutely. I know. Yeah, very excited for him. And I think maybe we can talk about some of the footy stuff in a minute, and we'll just hit the ground running and go back to maybe day dot with you, Tom. And I think for those that, we get a broad range of listeners across, fans of a lot of sports, and, we've been lucky enough to speak to, people from the music world and the TV world as well. So big sort of listenership. And I guess for the people that maybe don't know who you are, have you got a little spiel about how you would introduce yourself, or who is Tom Libaratore? Unrehearsed, of course.
I haven't really thought that much about it, mate. I'm not. I don't know. I'm just. I'm not too good at talking about myself. I don't know. I've been playing for the Doggies now for. Grew up. I'm not Melbourne, northwestern suburb boy from Melbourne. Grew up in Essendon. Went to St Kevin's. Was a nice high school graduate. Still working through 4 uni degrees, so haven't passed any of them. But I got drafted to the Doggies when I was when I was 18. Been playing there for the last 11 years now. So, yeah, that's about it. Got a little 18-month-old Oscar. Got this big nuffy here called Earl.
Legend. We'll get him on next.
Big goober.
The big doggy.
No, that's about it, mate. Just pretty low key, mate. Just like to hang around with mates and family and just cruise around.
Perfect. That's good. Good insight. And it's I mean, for the AFL fans out there, Libaratore is a pretty famous name, and especially at Western Bulldogs as well. So do you feel like footy you were destined to play? Was it always what you wanted to do? Obviously your dad was pretty successful at the club there, and quite a well-known footballer in the AFL world. And was it something that you always wanted to do and dreamt of doing, or did you sort of just play because it was it was footy and you loved it and it just happened to fall in place as well?
Yeah, probably all of the above. I had a lot of help around me when I was a kid in terms of like my older brother and my mum. They always pushed me to play really well and like to play and train hard and that kind of stuff. And Dad was always there taking me to games and making sure I was getting to training and that kind of stuff on time. But as a kid, I always dreamt of playing it. I watched it religiously as a kid. I remember Mum telling me some story when I was like 6 that I was watching Sandful finals on stuff. It's just stuff like that where I was always playing and loving footy and played a fair bit inside just with a soft footy with my older brother. And then always dreamt of playing, but didn't really know if I was good enough or not. So, just played juniors. So I was about 14, 15, and just sort of played for fun and always loved playing and winning and playing with mates and that kind of stuff. And then when I was about 15, 16, my older brother sort of made sure I trained a bit harder, and I went down and did a pre-season with the local club, St Bernard's, with the seniors. And then, that's when I sort of started trying to check in and take it a bit more seriously and, stay away from a few house parties and make sure I was switched on enough to play, 16s and 17s, 18s and that kind of stuff. So, but also made sure I had a good balance with school as well because, Mum's a good school teacher. So, I think it was sort of a bit of both. And then obviously just from a pretty lucky point of view, I was able to play for Dogs due to Dad, and obviously only 15 minutes away. So that kind of fell in my lap a fair bit, and it was a combination of all those things, I think.
Yeah, I'm interested. You mentioned you like that 15, 16-year-old age. You went down to St Bernard's, and you also said you're a St Kevin's old boy. And I know St Kevin's is a bit of a football factory. There's a lot of very successful professional footballers that have come from St Kevin's, and I know at that sort of age, the private school Saturday sport becomes a big focus for a lot of kids, and taken up. The ones that are striving to reach the AFL tend to pick private, the school footy over club footy. Did you do that as well, or did you stick to the St Bernard's?
Nah. So we had to. I start with you have to play school footy. So I played juniors at St Bernard's until under 16s. I'd play school footy from year 10, or we'd play school footy Saturday and then play Bernard's on Sunday, sort of thing. Yeah. So until I was 15, 16, and then some of the coaches were like, it's probably enough. You can't really be playing 2 games a weekend. If you're playing senior footy, I like playing ones for school. So in year 10, I started playing more for school, and then I just play for Bernard's in the holidays, sort of thing. And then under 17s, 18s, that's when TAC sort of took over, and it was between TAC or school footy. So, but school footy is always a priority, mate. Because if you can't not play for the school. Otherwise, I don't think they'll let you back in on a Monday. So, it was always school footy.
Yeah, cool. Did you go to school with Tom Nichols? Was he at St Kevin's when you were?
Yeah,
Big T?
He got there in Big T. Nick got there in year 11.
Yeah. And because then he jetted off up north as well after that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting. I'm just putting the timelines together in my mind. Sorry, but yeah. So
he came in 09 for 2 years, and then I think it was he came year 11, year 12, then he got drafted up north.
Yeah.
End of 2010.
Yeah, he's a good man, Tommy
He's
Nichols.
an absolute
We
legend.
grew up with him, and I think he was our very first episode of the Men
He
of Words.
was.
So he was numero uno on the card. So he's an absolute superstar. So big love to Tommy. We love him.
He's it's good to have him back. He's been I saw him a few times this year actually, and I hadn't seen him in fucking ages. I was like, this is good, positive, happy man. He's great to have around.
Isn't he? Big blonde bleached hair now. He's
a
bit
don't
different.
know about that.
It's got a bit it's a little bit of like old school Odell Beckham Jr. sort of vibes going. He's got the top deck happening.
And he fancies himself behind the decks as well. He puts in a few tunes every now and then to our schoolmates WhatsApp group. So his DJ career will take off soon too. I reckon.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty
DJ.
Standard trajectory, I think, right? AFL into DJ world, yeah.
Gold Coast back to Melbourne.
That's it. Bring it back. It's interesting. I appreciate it's a good little background and a good insight into your journey into the AFL. And you touched on those teen years and skipping a few house parties here and there, and just trying to put in the dedication to get to your goals. And I mean, speaking of Tommy Nichols, he sort of mentioned when he went up north, that was saying he really missed because he was away from his friends and then seeing them celebrate their 18th or the big milestone sort of birthdays. Was that something you found particularly challenging to skip out on, or were you sort of you were happy with the balance you had? And
I didn't skip out on too many, to be honest, but there was a few here and there that year 12 wasn't as difficult, I think. It was probably more after when I started playing, like my first few years. We missed out on 21st, or that probably more so evident in year 12. But there was probably times where you had moments, but there was my mates and family and the support I had around me was pretty good, and they always made sure that that I was doing the right thing and wasn't missing out on much, because if I was left to my own devices, I'd probably be in a bit of trouble. But I had some really good support around me and friends and family. For sure.
Makes all the difference. I'm curious about that getting drafted. So we chatted to Lin Jong a little while ago, which is an awesome conversation, and he talked about him sort of being drafted and sort of being handballed this sort of external pressure, or this extra little bit of added pressure because he was sort of pushed into place to be a representative for the Asian community in the AFL. And it's obviously a different circumstance to yours, but I'm curious about, I'm just curious about how this would be for a lot of the people that come in under the father-son rule, and especially going to the Dogs the way that you did. Was there any sort of like external pressure that you felt from there? Because obviously you talk about the support within, so like your family and your friends and stuff being really good. Yeah. But I'm curious if you sort of felt any of that, any pressure along those lines when you were first drafted.
No, I don't think so. I mean, definitely not externally. I think maybe there might have been stuff in my own head where you always build that pressure up against yourself and how you got to measure up to what you've seen to and that kind of stuff. So maybe it's probably my own internal pressure related to how that, how people think of me or speak to me about that. Sorry, mate. Dog. Sorry. So like, I think, there was enough internal support and there was enough people around me, and I think we got to the club. Mitch and I went to the club a year early, and we trained there for a week or so. And my old man especially was, we just sort of take the piss out of it, sort of thing. Like, there was no sort of pressure to perform or that kind of stuff. And even the older players at the club, you can imagine, it's pretty easy sort of banter, and yeah, the way that your teammates and your coaches sort of, sort of half take the piss out of it, but also, acknowledge it that it's not really a thing. It's it's a pretty, I don't know, it's a pretty sort of fake expectation sort of thing when it comes out like that. So, from that pressure point of view, I didn't really feel that sort of stuff when I was there. And then, I really enjoyed just being there and just wanting to play. So it was more fun than anything.
No, 100%. And I think it probably plays a big part in it. Like all of those people that you're talking about, their attitude towards it, being able to take the piss with it a little bit and being able to sort of, just diffuse the whole thing through not taking it that seriously. That's probably a really positive thing to have happened, because it really would sort of take the sting out of that, or take that pressure away if there was any to begin with. So it seems like that was handled kind of well.
Yeah, it's just mainly around, I think, how it affects what I said at the start, like how it affects you individually. I think, it's like anything really, like all the stuff that goes on with whatever you might do, or any other job in its entirety. Like the main pressure, is your own head and the stuff, the expectations you put on yourself. So I think, you get the support and you get the advice from teammates, and even dad was just like, mate, just the biggest aim is just try and play a game next year. Like, you don't have to worry about getting a kick every week, whatever. It's like, so as long as you play a game and just train hard, then everything else will come after that sort of thing. So it certainly just turns the volume down a bit on your own head. And you always, like, regardless of that, I was always wanting to be the best I could, regardless if I was Tony's son or not, sort of thing. So, because I've got my own competitive nature and want to be the best I can. So I think if you look at it from that point of view, rather than looking at it from perform, because I'm son of a great, but yeah, I think you just got to manage it yourself and use the support around you.
100%. No, it's an awesome perspective. I think that internal, I guess, that sort of self-talk and you're right, that self-talk that we all say to ourselves, and that stuff that we, and it doesn't matter what sort of job you have, that is often the biggest speed hump, and that's the biggest thing that you're battling with anyway. We're sort of all, self-focused in that way, and are probably, more critical to ourselves than what we should be, and more critical than often anyone else is. So is that something that you obviously can recognize it now, which is really good, and you can see that, not that it's that easy to just turn off, but is it something that you think that you improved at sort of quietening that noise, as you sort of matured and as you grew up, a career and otherwise?
Oh, definitely. I think initially it was just about trying to be aware of it. Like, I had no idea that, that kind of stuff. I was pretty rigid in my thinking early days, and I didn't understand mental health, or anxiety or depression, all that kind of stuff. I had no idea what any of it was, because unless you sort of go through it yourself, sort of thing. So I think accepting what that is and understanding what that is initially, and then being able to recognise it as you go forward, and also just through different hurdles. So most of us learn the best through adversity. So there's a lot of stuff that sort of went on with my injuries and off-field stuff. So that sort of made me aware of what was going on, and the club sort of educate you a lot on this sort of stuff, and it's an industry that has a lot of issues with mental health. So it was certainly something that I've learned to understand, and then learned to grow tools and how to combat it, or how to help other people, and that kind of stuff. So it's always, it's you would understand yourself, it's always something you got to learn every day, and new challenges come with different ages, and that kind of stuff. So it's certainly something is always trying to evolve and teach as well.
No, 100%, man.
Do you find that, looking back at your first year or couple of years at the club, can you see the difference, or the shift towards a more proactive approach from the club in terms of, teaching the new draftees about, more about mental health than when you perhaps were drafted yourself, and, the support about, you know, if you're feeling a certain way, there's A, B, or C that you can go and chat to and at the club, you know, like, is there a shift inside the walls?
Yeah, massively. I think, initially the support is definitely there more so now. The understanding, I think, from the playing group and the coaches, and I think it wasn't really that much talk about it, and not much awareness around the situation when I was younger, from the players who are older than me. No fault of theirs at all. Just it was just how it was. And I think as I've got older, you just see slowly more understanding and just general talk about it. Marcus Bonte's unbelievable with that kind of stuff, and I think there's been a massive shift in age, and you probably see that it's probably reflective of society as well, of where we've come, I think, in the last sort of 10 years. So I think it's been a massive shift.
I think it sounds true for a lot of different clubs the people we've spoken to across the board, and I mean, it's only a positive thing. It's only going to help. And I mean, I know someone like Bevo's the ultimate people person, and you know, he's got everyone's sort of back, and must be nice to be able to play under a coach like that already has that ingrained support in the way he goes about day-to-day life as well, and building that culture. And obviously quite a successful culture now at the club in terms of the time he's been there as well. So I'd like, maybe we can, if you're willing to, talking about that, his first year at the club, 2016, and first or second year, and you know, the success that came in that year. And it was a lot of talk on the outside world was the fact that Bevo came in and really shifted a few dynamics and the support around each other as well. He came in at the end of start of 15, and we'd just come off a pretty rough sort of tenure with Brendan McCartney. We had a couple of years we were pretty unsuccessful, both on and off the field, and there was a lot of change. There was people who'd left. There was there might have been close to 20 people turnover in 2 years of players. Wow.
There might have been. Well, there was a few coaches as well, but obviously, you know, a new coach brings in that kind of staff and sort of redevelopment to back his own culture in and game plan and that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of change. There was a lot of there's a lot of raw sort of just lack of understanding or sort of uncertainty as to where we're going to go. But I think Bevo brought in this mantra of sort of harping on that unknown sort of thing, and sort of embracing how, you know, still got nothing to lose, and just the positive side of everything, and not dwelling on mistakes, and opening up the floor to us, making us be more understanding, and I suppose communicating more about what we wanted as a playing group, and you know, having that better relationship. And it allowed us to grow between ourselves and be more confident in giving each other feedback, being more confident in giving the coach feedback. Blokes weren't as shy to, you know, have a laugh or, you know, show, you know, be normal and sort of be a bit more relaxed around the club, and not be so tense about, you know, rocking up on time. And we obviously rock up on time, but just like, you know, just the stress around things that aren't that, you know, if you're fucking 2 minutes late to physio, it wasn't like, you know, you got to go do 100 push-ups sort of thing. It wasn't that kind of sort of culture. And he drove this sort of understanding. If you make mistakes, it's all right. Like, we had a couple of incidents in 2016 where, you know, blokes sort of got in trouble here and there. I'm not sure if we just had a couple of moments where, there was, you know, bloke getting the piss or whatever, and I was probably one of them. But we had just sort of instances where, instead of that sort of, you know, shaming and putting blokes out to dry, we took them in, and we had player meetings and you know, sort of dissected the situation ourselves, and Bevo gave us the autonomy to do that. And we had situations especially in, I mean, we had a few in 15 as well, and you know, we had a great year, and you know, we probably couldn't have done much more with what we did in losing that first final. Like, from where we came from in 14. So, and then 16, we came from the clouds and ended up winning it. But there was just moments throughout the year where, where we sort of got around each other and built that culture of support and help rather than sort of condemning and putting blokes in the outer sort of thing. So yeah, it was all about connection and no isolation, that kind of stuff. And that still rings true today. Like, we still have meetings. We still have pretty big player meetings, and anything that comes up, we've got the trust and structure in place from Marcus, especially to deal with stuff and move forward in a positive way. So yeah,
it's really cool to hear this, especially I guess a few years past this, sort of 5-6 past, when we're talking about that, where that cultural shift began. I'm really curious about like what, because I guess it's a term and it's an idea that I guess is used in a lot of circumstances. Like, people talk about cultural shift, I mean, across sporting clubs and in workplaces and all this sort of thing. And it feels like a very intangible idea. Like, it feels like this broad idea that I'm just curious about, like, what are some of the actual like moving parts and pieces, like for you, because obviously, and like you can recognize that change because you were there before and during the change, and then now we're in this pretty healthy spot, as you say. Does it just come from like having that leader, and it's like a top-down thing? So like all of those values, the stuff that Bevo is talking about and sort of I guess like representing, does that just flow down from the top, or is it actually like what are some of the actual tangible things that were in that cultural change? Is that like does that make sense? You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's like, it's good. That's a good question. It definitely comes from the top, and then everyone has to play their, just the training standard of, I felt like anyway, I mentioned this about 4 times, so probably, but just the training standards of the blokes who weren't in the 22. So we talk like the bottom 5 or 6 players who hadn't played yet in any of the finals sort of thing. There was, I don't know, we talk about standards and that kind of stuff, and healthy training habits and holding each other accountable. And I don't think it can really be effective unless everyone buys in, and that's the whole 44. So there was blokes who were away from home in this hotel, and there was blokes who weren't playing footy but were still fully healthy. There were blokes who were injured who had to get up and train when they knew their season was over, sort of thing. So that's probably a big one for me. There's also we have consistent meetings around age groups. So there's once a week there might be meetings from 1 to 4 year, or then 4 to 7 and then 7+ sort of thing. Just so
that's interesting.
Everyone can have their voice, sort of thing. So because some blokes might not be comfortable talking in front of big groups and that kind of stuff. So there's always there's a few things that
No, it's good. They're good examples because I guess it is. It's obviously they're all the smaller parts that make the whole thing like what it is, and that's what brings about that cultural shift and obviously leads to success. So, even just looking at successful teams over the last 10 years, there's a lot of that attitude, I guess, and a bit of a shift and a newfound respect for the mindfulness side of things, and for the, like the whole player, not just, the muscles and the tendons in the player that are running around, on the oval every week. It is like a more overall sort of view. And I'm interested if that was like, if that's stuff that you have found benefit in as well. Like, have you sort of, utilize some of those tools, and or I guess maybe a better way to put it is like, what of those, the sort of the newfound tools in your toolkit, have you found the most beneficial for you? Like, what's some of the things that you've really found benefit from?
I think initially it was just sort of buying into just having that initial acceptance, like just that acceptance mindset of like, I need to fucking pull my finger out here, like otherwise I'm I could have been out the door. But I think it was after my second day, I wasn't too sure I was going to get another chance. But there was, I think I just need to buy in terms of seeing a psych. That was probably the biggest thing for me. It was consistently talking to a psych every week. And then just having little stuff around that, like just make sure I'm sort of journaling in the morning and doing a bit of writing and stuff like that. And then, occasionally just trying to get a bit of meditation as well, just to sort of check in and just sort of slow down a fair bit. Because I mean, that was something I needed to do. I just need to sort of, not think so fast all the time. I'm sure everyone understands that, but there was certainly that. And then just sort of overall understanding of sort of helping my teammates and sort of being a better leader and understanding that I'm a bit older now and just sort of buying into the structure, to the culture of the side and making sure that I'm better support for other people because and just believing that sort of thing because I need to definitely need to get going a bit before 2019 and 2020. So it was just they're probably the main things that helped me.
Well, I gotta say, there, Murph, I can see you smiling because you know that they're my top three. 100%. The psych, the journaling, the meditation. I'm like, fuck yes, Tom Libaratore gets it. All right, interview done. Pin him up.
I'm not gonna lie. I literally wrote down psychologist, journaling, meditation, and then a star with Muff. So I think the top three, yeah. I mean, to be fair, yeah. So for a bit of context, Tom, journaling is something Muff he's always done for a long time, and he always tells me I need to do more of it. Now I know I need to do more of it. And something I can proudly say, I did 141 days yesterday in a row. So it's, I'm getting out. Oh, I mean, I'm pretty proud of that. It's a big effort considering.
That's very impressive, mate.
That's huge.
What I had been doing. So, it's a big tick for me. And the meditation, I think, is a big one as well in terms of slowing down and being present and, just being able to control the things you can control. And you mentioned sort of 2019 or 2018 is when those sort of things started to become really important for you. And obviously that was around about the time where a few major injuries came into play, if I'm not mistaken. And I'd love to touch, I think, have you had one or two knee recos?
Two.
And I mean, like they're arguably, you could say that for a lot of people, their career enders, the ACL, the knee reco, and thankfully now it's a lot better than it was 20 years ago, but you can sort of get back to where you're going. But how was it for yourself to, when that first one happened this is coming after a handful of really successful years by yourself, like for yourself in terms of, a couple of top 3 BNF finishes, team, individual accolades at the club there as well. So how was it after, having a bit of success personally, and then copping those couple of injuries?
I think it was a bit of a shock to the system. Like I didn't really accept. I didn't really sort of understand what it took or how hard it was, sort of thing at the time. Especially that first one, I didn't realize how hard it would be, sort of thing. And I sort of just went into my shell and that kind of stuff and thought I could do it on my own because, so it was, I don't know what I was there. I was 23, I think. So I was still a pretty sort of proud individual, sort of trying to be a heroic sort of man, sort of thing. So, that was pretty hard. Luckily, I don't know how, but somehow I got through the other side. But and then the second one was pretty difficult as well. I think that was 3 years later. Then so they both I don't know, they both had their challenges and that kind of stuff, but they both sort of allowed me to understand how much footy. I didn't realise how much footy meant to me and that kind of stuff. So it took a pretty unhealthy turn on for the mental sort of things because I didn't really grasp the understanding of not having a schedule and not having such a frequent schedule and playing games and that kind of stuff. So it certainly provided as challenges, but definitely allowed me to sort of figure out what was going on and how I could better myself in the other end.
Yeah, for sure. Was in terms of that, like that less frequent schedule, and a few people we've spoken to talk about when you get put in the rehab group, you're not with the main core group, and often it's quite lonely at the club when you're doing your rehab and that. Where did you draw, if you can remember, where did you draw motivation, I guess, from that first one being such a shock to the system? And really, you mentioned that was a bit of a harder hitter on the mental fitness for yourself. Where did you draw the motivation to go, right, I've got to get into this and push through?
I think I just sort of drew on perspective of teammates, certainly friends as well, who are in situations where I was, they were urging me to move forward and push on, and even my family as well. So I just think I needed to understand how much how much I needed to show, I suppose, respect the position I was in initially, and then on the flip side, just how much I did want to need to do it for myself, sort of thing, because I love the game and always have. So I think I just drew on just a bit of perspective and also a bit of sort of empathy around teammates and friends who would love to be in my position, sort of thing, and also just because of how much they wanted me to do well, and family who pushed me to play in the first place. So I think it was both internally and externally as well.
Yeah, no, awesome. I appreciate that. I want to, in following that, a couple of years down the track now, and do you offer any advice to teammates that go through a major injury? For example, I think Josh Bruce did his knee late in the year this year, and I think from one of the first things I saw on his Instagram was he sort of said, yeah, I've hurt myself, it's pretty bad, but if anyone else needs to talk, I'm here to support, I'm here to help. So do you find a bit of time to reach out to those fellas and offer some advice on it as well, or do you let them sort of do their thing?
No, I've had a few chats to Bruce already, and he's had a few chats to me. So we've me and Josh we're pretty close. So I've sort of sent him messages throughout each sort of period around trying to make sure that he understands, and he probably understands better than me already, to be honest. So I think he's probably the one giving advice to me at the moment. But I think initially, like when he did it, I spoke to him in the rooms after the game for a bit, and just sort of tried to give him a bit of support and that kind of stuff, and just make sure that you just sort of understand that it's going to be hard, and you got to accept that it's going to be hard, and then you got to use that understanding to lean on everyone. And I think, and just sort of go at your own pace and make sure that you'll figure it out yourself, and you'll figure out how to help yourself, but just understand that it's going to be difficult, and I'm always here to talk to you, sort of thing.
It's a good point of view. I mean, it's such an immediate, and I mean, it's immediate thing that an ACL, for example, you see the docs do the tests on the sidelines, and they can 9 times out of 10 tell pretty much straight away that it's it's a pretty bad one. So I'd hate to be in the position to see a teammate in that time frame straight after a match, but it's a credit to you to be able to have a shoulder to lean on so closely to such a traumatizing, I guess, experience. So it's an interesting insight to hear.
It was a rough sort of, it was a weird, eerie feeling after that game, especially walking in after probably game we should have won as well, and it happened so late in the game. It was just unexpected, and it was a pretty shocking sort of setup. But credit to Josh, he's going real well at the moment. So he's doing well.
I think that points to how close and how connected people are in this space, like in the football world. And not only because obviously having the one overall collective goal together, which is what you guys have obviously to do as best as you can through a season, but then so I guess, you have this one thing that you're aiming for collectively, but then everybody seems to collectively feel the stuff that might even happen on an individual level, exactly like what you're talking about with Brucey. And like, it really points to, like a lot of connection and a lot of support between people within the footy club, which is great and such a nice thing to have. I am curious for you, Tom, like you've sort of touched on it a little bit already, but I'm maybe keen to dig a little deeper. What your support network outside of the football world sort of looks like. And obviously there will be crossover because I'm sure players are mates and you've got, friends and family that obviously can be supporting you in the football, in your football endeavor as well. But I'm interested in what the support, is sort of like, outside the club.
It runs pretty deep. I've got a lot of support from friends and family. Especially with my dad's probably one of my biggest supports around. Just checking in and looking after me and that kind of stuff. He's not really one to talk about. He's still pretty old school. He doesn't really talk about feelings that much and all that sort of setup. But if I ever need a chat or whatever, he'll just listen. He doesn't judge or anything. And my mum as well, and little brother and little sister and older brother as well. So, and probably my 3 or 4 closest mates who are pretty tight. I've got 2 or 3 mates that we're pretty much like brothers anyway. So, there's that's probably the main network of support. And then from a, I suppose, professional point of view, I've got a psychologist that I talk to weekly as well. So,
which is awesome. Like that consistency of professional conversations is such a cool thing, and something that we talk about and advocate for so frequently, because it's not just a matter of like going to see a psych when you're in the bottom of your deepest low. It's like it's maintenance. Like that's sort of the best attitude to have towards it. I'm curious.
You get a different perspective, like because if you're just talking to friends and family all the time, like it can, they're not exactly. They don't have different views and that kind of stuff, or just a more grounding sort of. I don't have that objective opinion all the time, so
exactly
it's hard to not talk to them and start blowing about stuff and you start yelling at mum or whatever. I don't know, but so it's always healthy to have the objective opinion as well.
Yeah, that's it. Now you said you had have you got one a kid, 18-month-old?
Yeah, I got a little boy. His name's Oscar. He's about just 20 months now. Sometimes his mum had a little girl. I met her when she was about 3. So Lotus is about 6 as well. So
nice.
Sort of see her from time to time too.
So do the grandkids soften the old man a little bit? I'm curious.
Oh yeah, they've got him. They've got him hook, line, sinker. He doesn't want to see me anymore. He calls me up. You got Oscar? I'm like, no, not today. He's like, all right. Maybe we'll catch up next week then. I'm like, can't even go and have a beer with my old man unless I've got a little fella.
Yeah, that's it. Conditional love now.
I've softened him up. Yeah, real nice, which is great to see.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I think, it is funny that the preceding generation to ours, like just having that different perspective, but even still, like it might not be, maybe it's not necessarily in the words that they use, because my old man's kind of similar in a way, like he's not a poet by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But in his actions, like you can see that understanding and that empathy, and you see all that sort of stuff in those older generations. So
their values are probably a bit different and how they were raised and that kind of stuff. So his support's just in a different, exactly, it's in a different way.
Yeah, that's it. It's still invaluable though.
Yeah,
we love you, folks. They do plenty for us. We were lucky. We're lucky, Murph, aren't we? We got a couple of. We've dragged both our old mans into the cold water therapy this winter.
Oh, nice. That's impressive.
Dipping in the bay, but
they're
doing
all
right. Wouldn't dare do that. He hasn't. I don't think he's slept outside of his own bed for 50 years. He goes camping. He gets scared. Like he's much what you wouldn't think he was after seeing him play footy.
Yeah, that's it. That's the way it goes, right?
Tom, I want to ask on becoming a dad as well, and it's something. All things going to plan, the next couple of years will be on the mind for me as well, and want to know what the transition of becoming a dad is like in from your perspective in terms of it's something I don't think we've asked a professional sports person yet about, in terms of you've got such a big and broad, I guess, schedule with footy, and the workload and the travel and that sort of thing, but then having a little fella as well. What's the transition been like into fatherhood?
It's been tough. It's had times where it's been rough, sort of just getting him in a routine, that kind of stuff, and the timing around it as well. He was born on the 1st of Feb last year, so we just got in, and then COVID hit, and then we were in lockdown for about 10 weeks when he was about 4 weeks old. It's had its challenges, but in terms of watching him grow and how much joy they bring and how much joy you give them, it's been incredible. He's just starting to talk and put sentences together now and get excited by everything. And like, I was doing the skipping rope yesterday, he's just like looking at it, laughing and like screaming at it, like just little things like that, where it's like, it's pretty special. So you got a lot to look forward to.
Oh, well, hopefully, yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, it's interesting. You speak to mates, and being a teacher, there's a lot of older crew at work, and a couple of the guys that they've been open after a couple of beers and spoken about that first moment of becoming a dad for the first time, and the sort of like a smack in the face, like, holy shit, I'm a dad all of a sudden. And they always say, like, wouldn't trade it in for the world, and can't imagine life without him, I guess. So it is interesting. It's something that maybe we can it could be a question that we look into deeper and find some stories, because you're absolutely right. And I suppose for yourself, Tom, that being born into the world of COVID, it's not what you would picture to be the ideal time to become a dad and to have a kid. So yeah, it must definitely have been an interesting one to cop first up.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was pretty interesting. It was more so when we went to the hub. Like, we got called up to Queensland in it was the end of July last year, and he was just starting to like crawl and that kind of stuff. And he's about he would have been 4 or 5 months old at that stage, and just sort of starting to get a bit of personality about him, that kind of stuff. So, but it was just bizarre that it was in a hotel room in the Gold Coast. So, but it was it was so much fun, and the beauty of it was that I got to spend much more time with him. We literally just trained around the corner, or you go to the gym and come back to the hotel room. I could see him all the time. So, that was probably a big positive out of it as well.
Yeah, that's true. Like a bit of a silver lining, I suppose, because I mean, that's what I was kind of interested to know. Like, with your normal schedule, say COVID out of the question, the time that you would spend away from home and away from family on a day-to-day basis, definitely would be completely different to what it is. Yeah. And I suppose probably lucky that you were able to get him up and have him on the Gold Coast as well, because wasn't there was a bit of time where it was just players and coaches? Is that correct?
Initially there was like a certain, I think it was like more priority sort of thing. There was a certain amount of people who went up at the start. So I think people with like partners with kids and stuff went up straight away.
Okay. Yeah, right.
And then they just slowly allowed more through the AFL. But there was a lot of players who didn't have partners up there for a good probably month or so, I reckon, or 6 weeks even. It was just a very rogue experience overall.
I've got kind of a self-serving question, Tom, because I'm very lucky at the moment to have one on the way, which we're very excited about. Me and my partner. Thank you very much, mate.
Well done.
It's actually I just noticed that my Zoom name is Lucy Antonuccio, which is my partner. So she's got one in the oven.
I saw that before. I was like, oh, is that meant to say like lucky or Lucy?
Yeah,
or...
yeah, that's it. No, don't ask me why. We've been doing this for 2 years and I still have no fucking idea how Zoom works.
Fair enough. I've had a few strange ones as well. All good.
Shockers. I've been talking to a few of our friends that are in that similar sort of position, like expectant parents to be, and we're talking about it seems to be this kind of consistent common feeling of like turning out of a 30-year-old and sort of starting to feel like a 17-year-old that has no responsibility and no idea of how the world works, and this overwhelming sense of like, there's no way I'm qualified to do this whatsoever, being number one. I'm curious if you had something along those lines and if you ever shook it.
Nah, mate. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know what's going on. I think, yeah, at the start, you just sort of, I don't know, you just try not to think about that too much, and you just sort of just think of all the good stuff, and yeah, you just think of all how good it is rather than try and beat yourself up, because otherwise it'll gobble you up in the end otherwise, and you know, you'll start doubting yourself and that kind of stuff. So as long as you just back yourself in and keep thinking of how good it is, then all that stuff will go away.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, well, there you go. That's the consistent answer so far. So
yeah,
another check in that column. Let it happen.
But you figure it out.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm sure your partner will. Yeah, so they usually know what they're doing. So I'll give you a fair bit of help.
They got the bit of the biology behind them to back them into that sort of stuff. That's true.
That's it.
No, that's awesome. No, that's good. Anyway, all right, we can return to the interview now. That was my own little like therapy session. Tom, I just needed that, mate.
Not at all.
Side note, no. Tom, I think we're sort of starting to near towards the end of the chat, and mindful of your time as well, mate. I know.
Middle of the day, so very busy going on here, mate.
Well, I mean, we can chat for another 3 hours if you want, but we might run out of questions. So we've got a couple more that we want to maybe touch on, and then a couple of exercises to ask if you're willing to jump in on. But one thing, I guess, you know, 173 games into your career now, and 11 years down the track, as you said. One question I love asking is, with the benefit of hindsight and looking back at your career so far and all the lessons you've learned along the way, you mentioned learning about the toolkit to help yourself. And I'd love to know, with the benefit of hindsight, is there anything that you wish you knew from day one of your career?
I can name a few things. I think I just would have, just to understand how, it's just probably just to understand just how to probably talk more about how I'm feeling and that kind of stuff. I think that's probably the main one, just to not in a overly sensitive way or constant, just being more comfortable and explaining how I'm feeling, just in a calm way and that kind of stuff. I think having the knowledge of how hard the game is. I mean, it's probably easy to say now, but yeah, I didn't understand how hard it was to back up every week, or to be healthy mentally as well every week. So that's probably the main one, just to have the understanding, and a lot of people say that, I guess, but probably just having a bit more guidance around professionalism and how to manage myself, I think.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Thank you. Is it something that you find yourself getting stuck into conversations with the new kids on the block and, offering some wisdom along the way, or are you one to, let people learn their lessons as well?
Sort of a bit of both. Like, it depends on who you gel with and who you get along with initially. Often find them giving me advice at this point still. There's still moments where there's blokes who are younger than me that help me a lot. And I think, you just it unfolds naturally around that. There's obviously a lot of stuff around, a lot more difference now between kids who start compared to when we started. So, you find that their professionalism's, pretty good. But there's always conversations to be had around that, no matter how old or how young you are.
think it's important to be, like you said, there's still younger crew that are offering you advice. I think it's still important to be able to accept advice from left, right, and centre. To be honest, it's a funny one. I know it's a like a pride thing almost to be able to listen to someone younger than you say something that you can sort of think like, oh, geez, that's good gear. Like, it's a weird thing to accept. And I know I've found myself at times listening to younger mates and been like, how the fuck do you know that? Like, why? How have I not learnt that already? Or
especially around a footy club, there's blokes who are in that are much more different to me, or just have different perspectives. So I think it's just important that you take the positives out of everyone's situation, and they learn a little bit from me. And no one's right or wrong, I guess. So just that's just how it is. So you just take on board what you can and just move forward.
Good answer. I like it. Muff, have you got any more questions you'd like to touch on?
Let's get into the pointy end. We'll finish up, huh?
Beauty. Tom, before we jump into these next, we got like one or two other things that we want to see if you're willing to jump in on, have a crack at. But is there anything that we haven't asked that you were hoping to speak about, or anything, like just to make sure we've covered, you're happy?
No, all good, fellas.
Beauty.
No, that's been great.
Like I sort of said, like definitely not journalists. So we like to just make sure we hit the right spots sometimes. So,
if I was, I don't know how you do it. If I was in your situation, I'd be pretty nervous myself. So you've done really well. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Cool. I guess there's two more things we like to ask our guests, and one we sort of preface with how it came into my life and our life with the work through the Resilience Project. I'm not sure if you guys have done any work with the Resilience Project crew or not.
No, not really.
No, that's cool. And one thing, one of their sort of like big dogs there, Martin Heppel, absolute superstar, most infectious personality you'll ever come across. He's just an absolute gun. And one thing he sort of speaks about is the importance of being able to tell your friends you love them, in day-to-day conversation, rather than, as men might be at the end of a couple of beers that we sort of huddle around and profess our love to each other. But it's, he's saying like, we can do that. Why can't we do it Monday to Friday sort of thing? And I'm interested to know if that is something that is involved in your life, and, by the sounds of the culture at the club that has been created in the support and the care for each other as a playing group. I'm interested to know, whether or when, if ever you've told a male friend that you love them.
I have a few times. Both sober or not, I do that. Regardless, I think that's probably more so depends on who the person is, I guess. But I'm happy. I'm more than happy to say that to anyone if I'm having a beer or not. So it just sort of depends on the person. I've got a couple of close mates who I got one in particular. It says it a fair bit. So I think it just sort of depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, for sure. Would you be willing to? I guess that you just mentioned you got one in particular that does it a fair bit. Would you be willing to take an opportunity now to give him or shout him out a little bit of love on this forum?
Yeah, mate. I'll tell you, Schultz, love you, mate.
No, good. No hesitancy. That's what we love. That's brilliant.
That's it.
Thank you very much, mate. Is he a footy friend, outside friend, school friend?
No, he's one of me mates I grew up with. Played junior footy with him when I was a kid. We grew up in Essendon together.
Yeah, known him forever. Oh, that's cool. Beautiful. Thank you very much.
I've actually got his face tattooed on my calf. That's him there.
Oh, how good. That's love. That's good.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
That's commitment. Look, Muff, I love you, but I don't know if I don't know if I've got the guts to do that.
I don't know if I've got the mug worthy of a tattoo. So I think we're both safe there.
It's similar. You got a similar beard and that kind of stuff.
Thanks, mate. Yeah.
He does have a good beard. Yeah. I'm very jealous. Very jealous of that hairline. On tattoos, here's one for you. What like it's pretty well documented. You got a couple of ripping tattoos. Have you got a favourite?
Yeah, I've got yeah. No, I got a favourite, but it's not to the naked eye. So,
Good call.
It's like it. Well, I'll throw my favourite out there. The oh my god, I thought I was a big Simpsons fan. The Hellfish.
Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, Jongy's. I don't know if Jongy's shared with you that, but it actually says Jongfish on it.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
I love that.
it says Jongfish instead of Hellfish, and then I'm not sure. There you go. Oh, no,
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Fuck me. Well, if it was my favorite, it's double my favorite because
Johnny's got the same one. It says Libfish, but it's on his back, so you can't see it.
How good is that?
So yeah, it's
pretty, fair to say he didn't mention that when we were chatting. But
nah, he's a coward like that, isn't
he? Yeah, I'm gonna call him out on that.
I might say it now. Love you, Lynn. Love you, Lynn. Appreciate it. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, good man. Good man. Yeah, we love Lynn too. No, that's awesome. All right, Murph, want to finish off?
Absolutely. Last question for you, Libby, is a bit of a long shot one. We, in growing this podcast, we like to ask the guests who their, I guess, dream conversation, someone you'd sit down and love to have a chat with, the old who would you have dinner with sort of question, but maybe in terms of who you'd like to, I guess, hear a story from on a more personal level, similar to the conversations we've had today. And, like, for example, it could be your next door neighbor, or it could be, Michael Jordan, and hearing a bit more about his life and personal stories. Is there someone that you'd love to hear talk?
Yeah, it's a fucking, there's a bloke, I don't know if you heard of him, but there's a guy called Jamie T. He's a musician from singer-songwriter from England.
Yeah. Sticks and Stones, mate.
Yeah, he'd probably be my number one, I reckon.
Jamie T.
He would be a fucking ball of fun.
You know what? That's a name. That's an artist I haven't heard of in a long time. But like,
he hasn't made an album for 5 years now. But he had about a 7-year break between his second and third. So I'm tipping he's conjuring up something else because I'll do dangerous things to have a beer with him.
He's about, like, if you got the money, it comes up. I've got that in most of my playlists, and that good gear. I love him. Good call. I like that. Good shout out. Might have to dip the toes muff in a few of our little music connections.
Yeah, I wonder who he's signed to. We got a few connections at a few of the labels now. We'll see if we can't sort him out.
That'll be
and then we'll actually find out what Libba would do to have a beer with him.
You don't want to know.
Nice.
We'll try to put you in touch one day. That'll be fun.
Oh, mate, that'll be the best moment of my life. Apart from having a kid.
Good save.
Good asterisk.
Thanks.
Awesome, mate. Absolutely. I mean, firstly, thank you for finding the time to have a chat to us, mate, and really appreciate, I guess, your openness. I know I sort of, on the back of Lin Jong's episode, I sort of took a bit of a wild one and tried to slide into the DMs, and I was very grateful to see that you replied pretty quick on the reply there. So very thankful, I guess, for you for being open and willing to have a chat with us today, mate.
How was that? It's something I believe in, and something that something needs to be talked about. So it's a great cause. Love what you're doing too. It's great.
Thank you very much. We're really looking forward, and hopefully, the world opens up a little bit. We'll be able to cross paths. And I know we saw Lynn in passing about a week or two after we spoke with him, and we just missed him at the pub, unfortunately. But it was literally like shattered. We were 20 meters away, backs to each other, had no idea each other were there until we saw him leaving. So hopefully when the world opens up, we can cross paths with you, mate, as well, and say good day properly and give you a thank you in person, mate. But it's been an absolute pleasure.
All good, boys. We I appreciate your time as well.
Ripper, all done.